Out of the worship mindset and forget that you're here and present with us. And so, Lord, don't let us do that. Don't leave us right now. Be in the midst of us by your Spirit in the way that we imagine what you're doing and the way that we envision the kingdom. And so, Lord, we thank you so much for the blessing of these three eligible elder nominees, for Yinka, Lord, and his family, and for Jason and his family, and for Tyler Martin and his family, and for the blessing that they've been to Redeemer over years. And so we thank you, we praise you for them, and we ask that you would give us wisdom and discernment on the opportunity of this building and help us to be wise in how we speak and in what we say. In Christ's name, amen. I appoint Phil Erdman as clerk to record minutes. Does that require a second? No? Okay. Yeah. Tim's got a second. So the first thing, so none of these things require any action today. This is just the presentation of content and material. And if you're streaming online, feel free to email or text any question in that you may have. So the first thing is Jason Moorhead, Yinka Akinyemi, and Tyler Martin. We are presenting as a session. We are presenting them as eligible candidates for the office of ruling elder. And so I think let's give them a round of applause. They have been wonderful. And so what this means for the congregation is that you have at least 30 days to sit down with each of these three guys and ask them any questions that you may have, especially if you don't know them well and you want to make an informed vote. Maybe you can grab coffee or lunch with them, but we also want to be collectively in prayer for each of these three men and their families as they think about taking up this role. And in August, at some point in August or maybe even early September, we're going to have another congregational meeting to vote them into office or not. And so that's a decision of the congregation. But what this is that the elders are saying, we recommend these three men as elders at Redeemer. And we think that they would make good elders for you. And so you all will vote on that. And then after that vote, we'll have an installation service. Everything in the Presbyterian world moves very slow and pedantic. Orderly, yes. And so, that's, if anybody has any questions on that, please let us know. Yes, Mona.
I'm sorry, I took out to help somebody.
Yes.
Because they were leaving their training class.
So it's Jason Moorhead, Yinka Akinyemi, and Tyler Martin. So, and this session, the current active elders are saying, we think that this should be your new class of elders. We recommend you vote them into office, is what we're saying. But that is ultimately a decision of the congregation. Okay? And now we're gonna shift that and talk about this building, and I'm gonna hand that over to Troy Power.
Is this on?
It
Can
is.
you guys hear me
Yep.
okay? Okay, good. Only thing I would add to what Matt opened with on the elder candidates and putting them forth, it was not without a lot of effort and energy on their part, and Matt's part, and their wives' parts, and other people's parts. There's a lot put into it, and it wasn't just a quick decision. It's been months, so it's been a process, and now it's kind of the culmination of the process before the vote. So we're excited about it, and then just want to make sure everybody had a feel for the process that it's gone through. So next part of the agenda is to talk about the City Light property and discussion. We started that back on June 12th. We had a meeting on June 12th to field some questions and begin to do that. So before we get going on it, a couple things just to kind of orient us a little bit. Hopefully you all received an email that had an outline of what we want to talk about today or information we want to address today. Hopefully you all received that. If not, part of today's purpose is to walk through what's in there if you haven't read that already. So I'm about objectives. So what's the objective of this meeting? Okay. couple things. Number one, we want to provide information, new information that we have since the last time we met, since the questions have been fielded and so on and so forth. So we want to provide information. Number two, we want to field questions that are old questions, new questions, whatever questions. We want to field those questions. Number three, we all want to hear feedback. And I'm not just talking about Adam and Matt and the elders. I'm talking about everybody in this room needs to hear feedback from each other about this opportunity, all right? So those are the three sub-objectives. The main objective, when we walk out of here over the next couple weeks, that we will all seek God's direction on what he has for us in this, all right? There's people that are, this is a no-brainer. What are we even talking about? And there's other people that are like, what are we doing? This is crazy. That's why we're a community. That's why we want to get the information on the table. That's why we want to talk about it, so we can seek God's direction on all this. One other thing, when we had on the June 12th meeting, there was a number of questions that were asked there. Those were all posted online, so hopefully you guys have seen some of those or looked at some of those. If not, then that's available out there as well. So that kind of, I guess, sets the context for it. Andy waits up here. He has a mic, so if anybody has questions or things as we're going through this, he's going to get a mic to you so that you can, so we can all hear it. We're also recording it on the stream. So what I will do, we'll take this whatever direction we all need it to go, wherever we want to go. What I will do, if there isn't anything to start with other than me, is I'll walk through the kind of the new information that we have that was outlined in that email. I'm not going to read it to y'all, but I'll hit the highlights, and we can see if that prompts some questions. But before I do that, does anybody have any opening thoughts or anything before I start getting into that? Marcus is on the clock. Will you give him a mic? Andy, that's your only job, for crying out loud.
I really did want to take a second
Yep.
and explain just what I've seen at Redeemer over the last 12 years.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
For example, how many of us as married couples still live in the first house that we got married in? Well, very few. And the reason is that we have families. And before long, we figure out real quickly that the house is not adequate anymore for our needs. First time I really saw this was Michael Gordon was pastor. And we were pushing that 200, 220 attendance. At that time, Michael explored the idea of going with 2 services. It didn't happen because Michael got called to another job in St. Louis. So he went on an exploratory mission, and we found Matt. And same thing happened. Matt, great pastor, people were, the church was growing, and then I think we were thinking also about the 2 service idea, how to, fit everybody in, and COVID hit. Attendance drops off, but now today we're back at that 185, 90, if school's in session. And so anyway, this is what I've seen over the last 6-7 years. So yes, you can go to 2 services, but what are some of the problems with 2 services? It stretches our worship team. It stretches our nursery workers. It stretches the security team. Also, I feel one of the big things that you miss is the people that go to the early service, you don't see them anymore if you go to the late service. Couple things that 2 services does not solve. Has anybody stood at the staircase waiting for somebody to come up or down, because it's full? Same thing with the bathrooms. We have 2 bathrooms in this church, and the only way to get to the bathrooms is the narrow staircase. Our nursery is too small. We've also expanded our nursery now to the portable. We've put together these makeshift nursing places. We don't have a place for nursing mothers. We don't have parking. We only have 2 classrooms. Without a doubt, one of my biggest goals over the years has been to have Sunday school. Our church is so rich with kids. We have a great theology. We need space to actually be able to do this. Over the years, I've seen families come and go. They come, they might stay for a while, and they go. And so I ask myself, it's like, why does this turnover happen? And don't get me wrong, I didn't ask any of them why it happened, but these are some of my thoughts. If you don't know anybody in the church and you're walking in cold and you can't find an easy place to sit, then it makes it a little bit more uncomfortable to keep on coming back. I already mentioned it, but you know what? Where's the bathroom? Well, the awkward staircase and 2 awkward bathrooms can also be a reason for people not coming back. And lastly, if I was a young parent and I was new to this church and my kids went to children's church and then I was told, oh, you got to go outside to actually pick my kids up after church. That's kind of awkward. Mm-hmm. It's okay for us because this is what we know. This is what, this is comfortable for us. So yes, all these observations that I've seen over the years, yeah, I have believed that we need a bigger building many years ago. So over the years, how have I seen the Lord work? Gave me a great wife. I never, in my dreams, had a goal of start my own business, but he opened up that door. I saw Covenant acquire Zion and grow in a beautiful way. I've seen Redeemer being started, quote unquote, out of the ashes. I remember I was comfortable at Zion. Jen's going, we should go to Redeemer. And that's the thing. We get comfortable. I'll visit that in a little bit, because the thing is, thinking about moving into another building, that's uncomfortable. But it also helps you to rely upon God, and you're able to actually witness what he can actually do. So Redeemer acquires this church right here for $1. That's another way the Lord actually works. The Lord has given us Matt and I feel a solid, great group of elders. He's given us $500,000 sitting in the bank. He doesn't want us to bury it in the ground. And we weren't looking for City Light, but the Lord dropped it in our lap. So this is how I feel the Lord, this is what I see in my life. The Lord opens doors and closes doors. And I feel that these are just open doors. What does this new building actually give us? It gives us a bigger worship hall, more bathrooms, Sunday school rooms, a bigger nursery, nursing rooms for mothers, offices, and guess what? A parking lot and a gym. So, also, I mean, over the last 6-7 years, and what have we done to this church? Well, we got a new HVAC upstairs. We got new HVAC downstairs. We got these awesome portables in back with new air conditioners. I mean, the church really is turnkey. And if we really want to do some type of a church plant, us moving to City Light, we have a building available for a church plant. And lastly, I mean, this is kind of what I see. I kind of see this as maybe Redeemer's third chapter. And it's a chance to actually move into another building and actually see Redeemer really grow. You know, is this scary? You bet. You know, we're going to have bigger budgets, all these challenges of just everything. But it makes me think, you know, the children of Israel were standing in front of the Red Sea with Pharaoh and his army coming in behind him. And what they feel? Fear. And we can be fearful also about all these unanswered questions concerning moving into a new building. But you know what? Even though the children of Israel just sat there in fear, what did God do? One of the most awesome miracles in the Bible. Part of the Red Sea. I think that's what we can see. We got a chance to actually see the Lord part the Red Seas for us. I just want everyone to be excited about what this really could be. That's all. So, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Marcus, you actually have like 3 minutes left on the clock if you want to go on. Ah, there we go. Thank you. No, Marcus, thank you. I mean, I know you've prayed about this, thought about this, and not just for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been for years. So I appreciate you sharing your heart there. Anybody else? Not that you need to step up to what Marcus did there, but Tim? Okay.
I don't know, you know, with my loud voice, I don't think I even need a microphone.
We need it for the recording, yes.
I do need it?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say I concur with everything that Marcus said. But my only concern is, again, to see the financial plan, but basically, he's on point with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Second voice. Reinforce the brother.
Okay. Don, you want to say something quick?
You guys got to realize I brought up in that church at Central Alliance Church, and they do have a big kitchen, trust me. And they have humongous parking lot. I would like to see, this is my opinion, but I would like to see a ministry going for people with disabilities. Like, I could teach that. And, you know, that kind of stuff, and that God wanted me to teach. So I'd like to maybe get involved with teaching, and transportation is going to be hard because I don't drive. And
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
you know.
I think Don, you make points that there's going to be new ministry opportunities at
Yeah,
that
and
new
then that's
site.
where I met my husband at, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Don. Don Marie. Anybody else have anything? Otherwise, I'll go through some of these things just to try and prompt some other questions. Jen. You can go whenever. Okay, let me go a little bit, and then we'll give it to you. Just to touch some of these. I guess as far as new information, one of the key pieces of new information is at the last meeting we got together, June 12th, City Light didn't have any date or have any timing for the process that they were looking to go through. But since that time, they've come back to us and said they need a decision from us by the end of July. That's the timing that they need, not because they're trying to speed us up or force us to do anything. They are making the purchase of a property themselves, right? They're moving facilities and properties as well. They're making a purchase of their property as well. They've found a place that they want to go into, and so they're in the process of making an offer and advancing that contract. And so the timing for them, they're asking to hear a decision from us by the end of July. So that's a piece of new information. One thought I had when I was thinking, listen to you, Marcus. Marcus made good points. There's risks to going, right? There's a lot of risks to going. Don't forget there's risks to staying, right? We have challenges with. Marcus mentioned some of those. It's easy when you have big decisions like this to think about the change and what the change risks and the fears of the risks and the risks and the fears of the newness of that change. That's where a lot of us commonly fall. I fall there too. I've learned you got to think about the risks of staying where you are, because there is risks of staying where you are. I'm going to walk through a couple of these, then we'll have Jen, or anybody else that wants to talk. Are the other PCA churches helping with this process? We touched that a little bit last time. Both Zion and Grace Chapel are supportive of what we'll be doing here. The vision for a church plant in the PCA, not just Redeemer, but any of the three or a combination of the three, this fits in that, so they're supportive of that. Financially, Zion's not in a position right now to participate financially in what we'll be doing here, which is fine. Grace Chapel may be in a position to participate financially in that. What that looks like, we're working on that. We've submitted some things for them to think about to the Grace Chapel session, and we're going to have more dialogue with them this week about their interest it's clearly an interest, it's what it would look like is probably a better way to get that. Anybody else have anything they want to touch right now? I'll just keep going through. Have any inspections been done on the facility? Yes and no, like it says in here. We didn't hire an official property inspector, but we had the Patrices help us, and his dad, to help us look at that and do through. And they've summarized it. It was a really good report there where they summarized several items. In general, I'm not going to go through everything line by line. If we want to touch on some of them, I'm going to hit some highlights. In general, overall, the building appears. I'm just reading off what they summarized. The building appears to be well built and in pretty good condition. We didn't see any obvious issues with the very expensive items, replaceable items. So nothing big on the radar there. They listed several things that they saw that were good about the facility. I'm going to just kind of blow through those. The roof is new and in good shape. The HVAC units, there's 3 of them. They seem to be in good shape. 2 of them are newer. The boiler, the parking lot's in good shape. The exterior of the building is in good shape. Generally, overall, there's a lot of positives and good things in there that we can go into more depth if you all want to, or you can read it. Challenges are things that we're probably going to need to be addressed. Drainage on the front east side. Basically, when there's big rains, it can gather some water there. So in the parking lot, not in the building. We're talking in the parking lot. So some drainage things. There's some concrete work that needs to be done on the back steps. The water heaters aren't the newest, so we should expect to replace those. We probably need to have an electrician look at the electrical boxes. The kitchen is outdated. It would need some remodeling, probably updating. It's usable. It's not huge, but it's going to need some updating. And the bathrooms the bathroom situation, we're gonna have to give some thought to the bathroom situation, because there's more than there is here. But we need to talk about kids' access and parent and adults' access and all those kind of things. So we need to give some thought around the bathrooms about whether we need to do some remodeling there or add some more fixtures in that. Yes.
I'm curious. Is that on? You getting?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
I'm curious if there are. This relates to the financial planning. Immediate things that would need to be taken care of. So financial considerations aside from paying money, taking out a mortgage. Is there anything that's going to require a decent amount of cash up front, or for us to get a line of credit? Is that something we can work into the mortgage, where the note on the mortgage is larger to pay for some of these things? I guess my concern is just related to the budget.
Yep.
And the initial. It's not just the mortgage, but like, are there other things that we
Yep.
need to address sooner rather than later?
Yep. The answer is yes and TBD. We fully expect that there's going to be some monies that are going to need to be spent in some capacities to, like, for example, the bathrooms or the concrete work. You know, in some, we have to prioritize this. We fully expect that to be something. So we're planning for that in the cost of the acquisition, right? And whether we build that into a loan that we would take out, if that's the path we go, or whether we would build that into how much money we put down or don't put down because we want to put it towards that's all TBD. But we fully expect to have to put some monies in, and I'm not talking, I don't know, I hesitate to go places that we don't have all the details on, but we're not talking, we could be talking $100,000. We could be talking that. Yes. By the way, anybody have any disagreements with what I'm saying up here, let me know. Michelle.
It doesn't come with any seating, right?
I'm sorry, say?
Seating, chairs, like they're taking their chairs with them, right? 'Cause I think that would be like 50,000 right there.
That's, actually, I don't know the details, and I don't think we've been to that level of details yet.
Okay.
But we need to check on that for sure.
So in the agenda you sent out, you said you have not hired an official property inspector yet, but will if we proceed further.
Right.
Are there the official property inspection, would that happen if we voted yes on the 24th, or would there be an official property inspection before the vote on the 24th?
I think it would probably be afterwards.
Okay.
Is what we're looking. That's why we did this preliminary review, even though it wasn't a full out piece.
And so even if we vote yes, and then on the 24th, we move ahead with the property inspection. The property inspector comes back with like some really significant issues that weren't discovered beforehand. Like, we're still not contractually obligated to buy the property.
No.
Like, we could still walk away even if the property inspector comes back and says there's significant foundational issues or
Right.
whatever it is. We could still
Yes.
walk away from the deal.
Ben, can you speak to that a little bit too? Just at a high level. Don't get into details, but just generally speaking. Hang on one second. Thank you.
Thanks. In a real estate contract, you have a period of inspection, it's called disclosure, and you have a period where you can do all those inspections. And then depending upon what you find, you can decide. That's in a normal real estate contract.
Yep. Now,
And an inspector will be probably with a building that size, I'm gonna guess my guy would charge us $500.
there could be some ramifications about earnest money that, I'm not saying we would have earnest money at that point. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but City Light could have earnest money on their property. So if we would get down the path and say, hey, we see this problem, we're backing out, then that could have a ramification on them. That's not entirely our problem, right? City Light is not driving our decision here, but it is in play. This is a unique opportunity, right? That we can't ignore, but we need to, and we are considering it with open hands, not closed, gripping fists onto it and not letting it go, right? We're going to consider this opportunity with open hands. So, others. Go ahead.
I might just give a little story that my family is going through, just because I feel like it's kind of a mirror of this. So, just because I recently graduated, I actually still live in our family house. And recently we decided to sell it. And I've actually been the biggest opponent of it. But I've been seeing just kind of like, no, this has been dropped in our hands. Like, this is the opportunity we've been given to go through by God. And it's just like, for me, I feel like that's kind of like this, where just take it from me, who's been kind of the opponent for our situation. If God drops an opportunity, just take a look and have faith with the little things you can't see.
Yeah. And I think Matt talked about that in his sermon a little bit today. Marcus mentioned it when he was talking through his things. There's a tension in the gospel, in the Bible. There's a tension. There's always a tension. And it plays out in different ways, but there's a tension. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. It helps us grow in our trust of him. Jen, are you good? Did you want to talk? Yeah, go ahead. You want to come up here or stay there? Go ahead.
Okay. It was interesting. I was listening to a podcast. I know a lot of us have heard the Mars Hill podcast, and Tim Keller was interviewed this last week. And he just talked about, new churches, like church plants are very dynamic. It's very easy to make decisions because, everybody is just trying to gather people for the church, and they gather a lot of people because, decisions are really fast, and it's growing fast, and it's exciting. And then we get down into just being an institution, which we need that for stability, but there's a lot less growth because it takes a lot longer to make decisions. We're just not all going 100% trying to gather people anymore. And we can settle into just losing our vision of what we exist for, and just here for the benefits of the people in the church. And I know that just, being on the church plant for Redeemer, we were all 100%, it took all of us, and there was a lot of growth, and it's so exciting to be in that, and now we've existed for a while. And I remember, I think it was Michael had the elders read Outgrowing the Ingrown Church, and I read it too, and it was just such a vision of the church of how we keep going out. It's too easy to look in, and we have a lot of anxiety, and we have a lot of other things, and we forget our goal is to bring glory to God and to gather people for his kingdom. And I feel like this is a way we feel like God is leading us. I mean, Marcus and I feel that way. So we're really excited about this, about church planning and propagating and seeing new people come to Christ.
Yes.
So that's just something that I thought that was really good timing to hear Tim talk about that this week. And I guess other things, I know Ben's talked about value for the money. It's like, why this building? And you think about all the things it offers us, and it's like, we could never buy a lot and build something. And I think about, we might be saving money by staying here, but we spent like $40,000 on the HVAC here. I mean, it's not like we're saving a lot of money staying in an old building. There's always gonna be things that we need. I mean, the roof, there's still problems with the roof here. There's always foundational issues. They're always gonna have to be addressed. It's just in the time it needs addressed. So
Yes.
We'll spend money no matter where we're at, maintaining the churches. I think about handicapped accessibility, which we talked about in depth the first time, but I don't know if we realize, like, if someone who has a problem walking comes to our church, they're usually calling either a deacon or Adam. It's like, does someone have a key for our wheelchair access lift? And we finally got it rekeyed because, none of us could ever find it. And then you get in that little cubicle, and it sounds very scary in there. Just saying, it's not a welcome thing for someone who has disabilities to come to our church. And it's like all hands on deck if this happens, if there's one person, and we're all hoping and praying over them that this thing lifts up. And that is just that's another thing. We know that the back of this church already needs work, so being able to have a church where we could have handicapped accessibility would be just something that we've longed for a long time, that we could actually have with this. I see that as a huge plus. Also, the location of it, they said something going on in that church as far as people from the neighborhood and community meeting there every day. They have a food net there, and I just think God is giving us the opportunity to continue this good work going on downtown in our city. And that makes me really excited. Now that we're down to 2 deacons, we haven't done a lot of community outreach, but as more deacons come on, I'm just really excited about what God can do through us being in a community where there's already things happening in that location, and we just take them over, and we get to see, just participate in what God's already doing there. I think some people worry about the site, like what kind of staff we'll need there. I talked to Zion. They have a couple that does all their cleaning there, and they obviously get paid, but they're able to do that. At Grace, they have someone they kind of inherited with the building that kind of does some maintenance and cleaning, but they share him with the preschool, so he's not even full-time doing that for their church, and that's kind of a big church, I feel like. So I feel like if we have one person cleaning, if we got another person to clean, that would probably be okay. The deacons, if the deacons can't help at Zion, then they just hire it done. So you don't have to have like a full-time person or even pay a part-time person to do that. That's up to deacons and outsourcing. And I guess something I think about is Marcus and I and the staff are the people that are going to be doing most of the work. I mean, obviously, everyone's invited in the work, and Marcus and I are up for it because we were up for coming here and, I mean, serving him joyfully together with his community. I mean, that's what we want to do, wherever that's at. But if more people want to get on and there's work days to try to get stuff straightened out there, I mean, we just had such great days working together when Redeemer was new. I mean, look at Indra. It was fun. Working all together.
Working in the yard is not fun.
Okay. You can paint, Troy. You don't have to work in the yard. Yeah, there's something for everyone. You don't all have to do the same thing.
I'll give you
yes. So I just see a lot of strengths in this, and I'm excited just about how God's going to move wherever He moves us. If it's here, you know, we're going to continue to seek His glory here. But I just see a lot of positive things about that new location, no matter how much work it is, and all those things. He'll provide.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate you sharing the thoughts on all of that. David, yes?
You guys have talked a lot about these current ministries that are happening at the building. Can you shed some light on, like, are we going to be taking on those ministries? Like, what does that look like? The food net, like, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding, like, what that looks like. You know, is that suddenly a Redeemer ministry? So can you shed some light on that and then talk about how we're going to grow? Like, have you thought about how we're going to grow into the space? Classrooms, offices, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Jen has some insight into that first part of the question.
I think, I just think about when we were at Zion, we were so thrilled to have other people using our church in the community. It didn't mean we were part of all those ministries, like the food net's running itself there, but we get to offer the building for free for people to get food in that neighborhood, which is a huge blessing to have that space. And when people have wanted to meet in this building, whenever they want to meet, I mean, I know that Young Life met in this building. It's not that we had to be a part of it. We had to organize it so people were meeting here and they had a key and they were being responsible here, and that's why we have the heater and AC is all on remote now, so that we can turn it on and off remotely and not have people messing with it and leaving it on 90 when they're not here or whatever. But that just means we have a location that allows us to be generous with the people that are meeting there. It doesn't mean that we're taking on all those ministries. We can, but we don't have to. But we're still being a huge blessing to those people who are meeting. And yes, we'll have to organize those things. But I've done that with this church too when we have people meeting here. And it's just a blessing to be able to use a facility 7 days a week instead of one morning a week. Mm-hmm. And as far as growing it, I mean, we need the office space already. Sunday school rooms and nursery, well, we can fill 3 nurseries already. I feel like do we have a significant plan? Well, we haven't approved the building, so there's not like this. But when we see it, you can get a vision for, we have like 2 nurseries. They have bathrooms inside the nurseries. They don't have to like go outside to go to the bathroom. They have 2 little miniature toilets in there. Anyway, pretty exciting. Yeah. So I can see, yes, the way we will grow and use that building already.
So what I heard you say, and what I think is accurate on the ministry piece is a couple things. There are several existing ministries in there. It's TBD on whether they all go with them, they stay there, we inherit them, or not inherit them. Regardless, the location, what I'm hearing is the location facilitates and is conducive to more ministry than this current location is part of that. Does that help answer the question or not? I mean, there's no clear dialogue yet on all those ministries that are going on there and if they're going or staying or not. Growth, wait, David also had something about growth. Is Adam or Matt, can you speak to the capacity, the growth side of it? Or just remind me what it is in the, yes. So what Matt said is that new sanctuary can seat 350 comfortably, and they squeeze 420 into there, is what the size of that sanctuary is. And to give you a feel, we're not 300, we're too low, maybe 250 is where we are. And they also, if I'm right, they're also running 2 services there, so they're pushing 600 plus people through there typically. So from a growth standpoint on that, as far as growth on the kids, I mean, as far as growth, I also think of the children's side of things. And I think about one of the challenges we've had here from the very beginning is the functionality of the space for children, nursery or toddler or other. The functionality has always been a challenge for us. We've done a great job making the most with what we have over the years, including adding the portables. It's still not ideal. You heard from Marcus, right? That's still not ideal, I think, especially moms and young moms. It's not necessarily comfortable all the time sending your kids to the back. That new building clearly has far more space to accommodate the children side of things, including the gym, obviously. And it's more functional for us from the growth side. So that's the other. When you say growth, I think about the congregational and the sanctuary part of it, and then I think about the children's side of it. We got Nicole.
So my understanding is that City Light is purchasing a property to renovate. And then is there like a timeline of like, this is how long they're gonna renovate? And then, so like, this would be a 9-month move, like it's not an immediate move, like we purchased the building.
Exactly. That's part of the timing with them is they're buying a new space and they're gonna have to do some things before they move into it. There's been so many things going around. The best I can remember, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the timing as it relates to us would be like Easter next year-ish, or at the earliest. So we wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. So a couple things. If you couldn't hear Matt, Nicole asked good question there. Timing. Matt gave a little more color to that. 6 to 9 months for the renovation that City Light is facing. So from the time they close to the time they are move-in ready is 6 to 9 months. But then they got to do move-in, right? And then we would have to be on the back end of that. So that kind of gives you a frame. What I heard Matt say is really the April next year is really probably about as early as City Light will be in that building, so we would lag behind that.
So that factored into their asking price. So it was assessed at a certain value that was higher than what they asked, and the way they said that process dropped the price for the $975 price because they asked to stay in it for longer. Does that make sense? Correct, but we would have an agreement where after a set time that we both agreed upon, if they were still in it, they would assume payments. But yeah, for the first 6 months, we own it, they're in it. And then all the details of that contractually will need to be figured
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Michelle, I got you. You have a question? While you're doing that, while we're on that topic, Ben, can you go to Ben, Andy? Sorry, Phil, Donahue, can you go to Ben? Thank you. Ben, will you speak to somebody said something about value and
Yeah, I was-
opportunity.
I was
and
just pulling up the assessed value right now.
Okay,
I
so
have software
can you
that shows
just,
me
I know
that.
we spoke to it a little bit last time, and people can go watch that recording, but we can also talk about it today.
It looks like it's assessed at 1.5, but really, that doesn't mean anything to us because the assessed value is for tax roll, and churches don't pay taxes. So it's just a matter of what somebody's willing to pay for it. And Adam and I had a discussion this week about what it would cost to find a piece of property and build something. And I did some research, and to find an acre, I think it says 1.2. To find an acre is going to be somewhere around 100,000 to 600,000. And the 100,000 is more out of town than in town, so that's a little, confusing for us or difficult to get to. And then to build a building, how do I say this? When you build a church where people are going to congregate, it's considered a commercial building. And that means once it gets over 5,000 square feet, it has to have fire sprinkler systems and fire suppression, fire doors, exit systems, stuff like that. So it makes the construction of a commercial building $350, $400 a square foot. And if you're talking about a 15,000 square foot building, I mean, you can do the math. We're into the 3 and 4 millions just to build it. But then you got to equip it. A kitchen alone, I spent 35 years in the restaurant business, a kitchen alone is $100,000 to completely furnish it with new equipment. And if we walk into a kitchen that already is functioning, that's a huge asset for us because you know how much we all like to eat. And then to lease something, to lease it and or renovate it like they're doing can also be very expensive just because leasing is, 50 cents to $1 a square foot per month, 15,000 square feet. We're looking at $6,000, $7,000 a month for rent. I mean, that money that we have in the bank will be gone pretty quickly. So I really have done a lot of research to look at other options, and I feel that this building is priced well for us. $1 million is my opinion, it's just my opinion, because I look at the valuation is tracked in commercial properties by how many cars go by it every day. And I think that intersection is right around 100,000 cars a day, which is very high for Lincoln, Nebraska. And so I think to just buy the land, I think the land alone is probably worth $600,000 or $700,000. Just scrape it and sell it. I think that's what somebody could get out of it. So to add another $350,000, $375,000 to have the infrastructure, it's hard to say what's a good deal and what's a bad deal. What is somebody willing to pay for it? That's what makes the price viable. I have people say to me all the time, I bought a house and this is what I paid. Do you think I got a good deal? Do you like it? Yeah, I love it. And you got a good deal. So that's just hard. Looking at price per square foot, if I'm just looking at it from price per square foot measure, we're getting a great deal. That's the way I would look at it. Totally analytically, no emotion.
No, that's what I wanted, is some context and color. Thank you, Ben.
That'd be my 2 cents.
Appreciate it. Michelle, and then Renee, did you still want to do something? Okay.
Thank you. I feel compelled to share my opinion after I've shared a lot of questions or concerns that I've had.
And I think that's fully appropriate, so
Right.
Thank you for offering.
Whatever
it is.
I am the person that tends to have a lot of, all my red flags go up and I see, the potential problems with the building. But I emailed the elders when we were selling our other building and I asked if we could please consider a new building. I don't like the streets out here because that's where we gather afterwards. There's no place to gather after church except on the corner of the streets, and the kids are running around in the streets sometimes. We started coming here 4 years ago, maybe it was 5 actually. I don't like the portables. I feel like that's a big turnoff. When we started coming, I was all the red flags were I don't like the system with the children's ministry doesn't seem, it's not sustainable. It's not. We're in a rough neighborhood. We have our children in a different building, and there's only a nursery and 2 rooms. So it does not consider any growth for our children's ministry. And I do feel like even just having a Sunday school capable room is not only a Sunday school option, but just any type of small adult ministry can really flourish in a small room. It's hard to have a meeting with 10 people in a room this big. It's not
Agreed.
up there, it's not a good place for a Sunday school meeting. And you can do Bible studies, you can do life groups, you can do a lot of things with just smaller spaces to meet.
Yes.
So I do, have your typical concerns, but I do really want to look at a new building. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, thank you. That's what this is for. Thank you. And to the, obviously we talked about the children's stuff, and you mentioned adult Sunday school or meeting rooms and things like that. That's kind of what that's part of what Marcus was getting at too, is there's space to do some of that other than just a big room as well. Renee.
I would just ask for some clarification on what exactly we'll be voting on in 2 weeks, because there's a lot of outstanding questions.
Yep.
Which is fine, but just in terms of like how we're going to finance this, is that still going to be like a yes or no vote? And then are we going to have a capital campaign? Are we going to get a, loan or
Yes.
however?
Yes.
I don't even understand what I just.
No, you do have a context for it. Yep.
But so all of these to be determined. How many of them, or what kinds of questions will we be voting on next week, or not next week, 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And what kinds of questions will we be voting, but will still be unknown?
Yeah, good question. I don't have a great answer for it, other than I would say this. Matt, you can give some clarity, but what I expect we will be doing is drafting a recommendation. Not a 2-page thing, but some short recommendation on what we see as the next step, whatever that is. And that's what we would be voting yes or no on that. And it could include, let's go buy the building. It could be something less than that. That's part of what we're working through this week.
Yeah, so you can slice that up in multiple different ways. The brass facts of what you'll all be voting on the 24th is if we should move forward with purchasing this property. That autonomous authority lies within the congregation itself. The leadership can only make recommendations. Now, if you do that, we can move forward in several different ways. The congregation can invest the authority to make contractual decisions to the session or committee within the session with the help of real estate agents like Ben, which is what we did with the sale of 745 D Street. And in terms of the capital campaign, loan, mortgage, all that stuff, we are looking into all of that. And a couple of things that we're thinking about is, yes, we definitely want to try to do some form of a capital campaign, probably not hiring a company to do that for us, but trying to do that in-house. And also reaching out to Grace to see if they can help so that we can limit our mortgage for the purpose of not having to have a large mortgage payment. Wayne Howlett is an excellent resource, especially if you have financial questions with our particular church. And so is Troy Power. But yeah, we're thinking about those 2 things, mortgage, capital campaign. It'd be very ideal if we didn't have a note at all, which I think is somewhat likely given the generosity of God's people and how God provides. When Grace moved into their building, they asked for $600,000, and they raised $800,000, and way quicker than they anticipated. So just know that God provides for us. But even, so this is the way that Wayne's articulated it to me, even if, let's say we took out a $600,000 note to get into this building, we could cover the costs of that and retaining this building and our budget by a very slim margin. If our numbers continue to remain the same, we're on a minimum of a 12% increase financially for this year. It's currently at 23%. We're 23% higher than we were last year currently.
So that's the pace of giving, just
Right.
to clarify. That's the pace of giving for this year. We're on pace to be 12% above last year. Sorry, Matt.
Nope. And Wayne thinks that that's going to settle down by the end of the year, but that's still really, really healthy.
It would be the highest we've had for a while.
Yeah, over the past 4 years, we've had an increase, but it's been more around 4 to 7%. And so this is double digit. It's healthy and encouraging. So I don't know if that helps, but
It does help.
So it's gonna, so what we're voting on next week?
Yeah,
It's gonna be, there's gonna be some language there that
Okay.
gives us some specificity to do it. It's not just a, yes, let's go do this, or no, we're not. It could be something different than that.
And I can ask the breakdown in an email unless it's real simple. I just kind of wanted a general idea of what the congregation votes on, like to what detail the congregation votes versus general go ahead, and that's really all we're voting on.
Mm-hmm.
Or are we voting on details of how we finance it or all of that stuff?
Yeah.
That was my question,
Nope.
and I think it's mostly answered. And yeah, okay, yep, that's what I'm asking. Right, because I think a lot of people's questions and concerns are in the details, and there's a lot in any decision. There's a lot of well, if, and so I was just kind of trying to narrow down what are the ifs that we'll be voting on, and what will be not the congregation's decision, or not yet, not anybody's decision yet.
What I
So that was helpful.
anticipate it will be not a short, simple thing that's yes or no. We're gonna buy it, yes or no. That's not gonna be that. It's also not gonna be a multi-page document with a whole bunch of details on all these things that are great questions that we need to work out. It's not gonna be that. It's gonna be something that summarizes the recommendation that we want to put forth to the congregation. Like, it could say, proceed forward under these parameters, right? And one of those parameters could be, we don't want to see more than this spent, and we want, whatever. I don't know what all those details are. But it wouldn't, and even those details would be parameters to play within. Make sense? Good question. Donnie, another one? Yep. Anybody else, if anybody else has questions too? Okay, we got a couple more.
If you guys ever need a cleaning company, our cleaning company will clean the church.
Okay.
We did it before Central Alliance did. My company, which is extra clean, we put a bid in that thing, and we cleaned the whole entire inside.
At the City Light building itself?
Yes.
Okay.
And if my boss doesn't want to do it, then I'll clean it for you guys, the
All right.
whole inside building. I've done it before.
Thanks, Don. Perfect. Noah. By the way, I didn't get into this today yet, but we also had Noah look at the audiovisual system and all the stuff that's in place currently at City Light and give us, and Noah did a great job. I read it yesterday afternoon. He did a great job of summarizing what's there, what's good about it, what's a challenge about it, what we want to change, what's it worth, all these things. Phenomenal. It wasn't done in time to include here, but we'll share that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be here on the 24th, and so I just wanted to share my thoughts on, on the building now. Having gone through and looked at the property in some detail, especially in the actual worship center itself, I think that there's a lot of advantages over the space that we're currently in, both in terms of size and what we can actually accomplish there. And so I'm in support of seeing whether or not we can actually move in that space and entering into those sorts of negotiations. So I just wanted to put my thoughts in.
Yes. And thank you, Noah, for the work you did on pulling that report together. It was awesome. Ben had a hand.
I just wanted to add another point of data. I ran a calculator at $700,000, a 30-year fixed mortgage at 5.5 is about $3,500 a month. $3,500.
Say that again a little slower.
$700,000 mortgage at 30 years, 5.5% interest is about $3,500 a month.
Thank you. Anybody else have something they want to touch?
Oh, and Cornhusker Bank helps churches, just FYI.
Yes, yes. Anybody? We're gonna, I mean, we'll stay, but yeah, Josh. Josh, you got something?
I like to poo-poo things, but I won't. So
we want all perspectives, man.
Yeah. So my quick, I was like, I just have comment, not
Yeah,
question.
okay.
So I got lunch with Adam on Friday, and then made him go over there with me because the other two time frames didn't work. My overall bird's eye view, I feel like I was vehemently opposed a couple weeks ago. But I think after chewing on it for a little bit, the short of it, I mean, I feel like the property's fine, right? I looked at it for like 5 minutes, but there's nothing of great interest that like isn't easily.
You have a
taken care of.
professional eye for that kind of stuff, but anyhow,
Yeah,
just make sure
I mean,
everybody knows. Yep,
sometimes.
go ahead. No.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's fine. And, like, there's stuff like the bathrooms, like, even upstairs, there's only two,
Right.
which is concerning. But in the same sense, the way I think about it is, for one, they're currently, like, hustling, 600 people through there every Sunday. So clearly it's possible, like, not really that big of a deal.
That's a great point.
Like, it's all functioning. Even, like, what do we need to do when we first move in there? Technically nothing. Like, it's functioning as a church
True
right
statement.
now. Like, it's fine.
True statement.
Like, and I just think, yeah, and the price, like if you do not a real estate agent, if you do a quick search, like online, everything is so expensive. Like, you can't, I mean, the Burger King on 48th and Van Dorn is like 2.5 million. Like, you can't buy anything for like nothing. Like, everything's ridiculous. Yeah, and I just feel like this is kind of silly, but I also feel like there's, even financially to some extent, there's kind of nothing to lose for me. Like, literally, like if it's total financial ruin, it just doesn't affect me. But also, like, I just think that, yeah, I mean, I trust Wayne's opinion. He's gotten us this far, I suppose, and to just, I don't know. I think if he thinks we can do it, I mean, there's obviously a lot of details in that, but
Yeah.
my overall quick synopsis is it would be fine, right? That's it.
So can I paraphrase on the financial piece of it? I mean, obviously, it's not peanuts, but what I heard you say is, I trust Wayne and his insights if he thinks it's workable. And from what you've seen, it doesn't seem like it's a big
No, not at all.
financial.
No, I mean,
risk.
I think you'd be, I mean, it's easy to walk into like Zion and look at their beautiful
Yeah.
building and be like, I want that, but like, we ain't getting that.
Yeah.
And so, it's older, the bathrooms are kind of gross, but like, just bring a hotsy in there and shoot her down for a while or something, I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it would be fine.
Thanks, Josh. Anybody else have anything they want to touch to date? Chris?
Can I comment even if I am not currently a member?
Yes.
Okay, so.
No. She's going to anyway, right? No. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so of all the things I've heard today, the one that really stands out to me and that is always on the back of my mind is how we serve our children at Redeemer. There are currently, the last I heard, reliable statistics were that we have 105 children under the age of 6. Is that still? Okay, so when I came to Redeemer, we had no young children involved, so I didn't even know about how the portables were being put into service. And then after I got involved and started to serve in a very small capacity as a teacher, I immediately saw I have huge red flags for the way that we are serving our children under the age of 6 currently. I find it very, very difficult when I do announcements to tell parents, especially as I look into the congregation and know that we may have new people sitting here. Your children are going to be escorted out of this building into a separate building, and then you have to go get them at the end of service. That to me is so counterproductive to community and to also safety. And to some of the other points that were touched on about that, I serve in that capacity, but always with a lot of prayer that we'll be kept safe in those portables. And I don't think it matters what community you're in. You can be in a community that's considered safe or unsafe, as we have well seen lately. You can be in a marvelous community and still have disastrous things occur. So there's no way we can guarantee any type of safety anywhere. But I do think our current conditions in this location, and I love this building and this property. It's just very charming to me, but it's very inadequate in terms of how we're serving our youngest members of the church.
And that's grown enormously over the years. Okay, anybody else? I appreciate everybody's patience in doing this. We don't get together like this very many times, so I don't want to cut it short, but I also am cognizant of people not want to sit here all day. But anybody else have anything they want to touch or talk about? Phil Erdman, did we miss anything major? You think we're all right with that? Adam, Matt, is there anything that was on your radar that we didn't as a topic?
Nope. No, I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yes.
And am I correct, Phil? We'll post so if you all want to or tell other people, this will be available to look at, or we'll have we'll try and summarize some of the key questions and comments out of this today as well.
I would also say, you continue to have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And I just want to say again, thank you to the elder nominees. It's a big deal for our church, and just the fact that they're able and willing to go through this process. And so, lovely families. We good to close?
Please.
Hey, Dan, would you close us out in prayer? Yeah.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity for our church to move forward and grow and provide for our young people. We just thank you for all of your blessings, and for constantly looking out after us, Father. And we just pray that and look to you for leadership, Lord, and help us through this situation. We ask these and all things in Jesus' precious name. Amen.